Why? Well, first of all, I'm a university professor. It's not like the universities are threatened by the right. They're threatened by the left. 100%. And they're not just threatened a little bit, they're threatened a lot. And that threat made it impossible for me to continue in my profession the way I was. And it cost me my clinical practice too. And that's not over yet, because I have 10 lawsuits against me out right now from the College of Psychologists, because they've allowed anyone to complain about me anywhere in the world for any reason, and have the choice to follow that up with an investigation, which is a punishment in and of itself, and are doing so. And then I've been tortured nearly to death multiple times by bad actors on the left. Now, I've had my fair share of radical right-wingers being unhappy with what I've said, but personally, that's been the left the whole time. Not only me, but my family put my family at risk in a big way, and constantly, like not once or twice, because many people get canceled once or twice. But I've been canceled like 40 times. And I know like 200 people now who've been canceled. And I can tell you without doubt that it is one of the worst experiences of their life. And that's if it only happens once. And then I also know that the communists killed 100 million people in the 20th century, that the intellectuals excused them for it nonstop and still haven't quit, that almost no one knows about it, and that the specter of resentful Marxism is back in full force. And so do I have a bit of an animus against that? Yes. Does it go too far? I don't know. I'm trying to figure that out.
The story you just told, seems nearly impossible for you, an intellectual powerhouse, not to have a tremendous amount of resentment.
Well,
and this is so let me challenge you.
Yeah,
let me challenge you.
Go right ahead, man.
Let me challenge you. Can you steel man the case that the Prime Minister of this country, Trudeau, wants the best for this country and actually might do good things for this country as an intellectual challenge?
Sure. He seems to get along well with his wife. He has some kids. There's no sexual scandals. And he's in a position where that could easily be the case. He seems to have done some good things on the oceanic management front. He's put a fair bit of Canada's oceans into marine protected areas, and that might be his most fundamental legacy, if it's real. I've been trying to get information about the actual reality of the protection, and I haven't been able to do that. But that's a good thing.
So sorry, the family thing is there's some aspect
speaks to his character.
His character. There is some aspect to him that makes him a good man.
Well,
in that sense,
I mean, there's the evidence there. You know, I mean, he's not a Jeffrey Epstein profligate on the sexual front, so that's something. And his wife, they seem to have a real marriage, and he has kids, so good for him.
That's a good start, by the way, for a leader.
Yeah, right.
To be a good man.
Well, then I also thought, okay, well, after the Liberals had brought in a Harvard intellectual who was a Canadian to be their last leader, he didn't work out. And then they're flailing about for a leader. And the Liberals in Canada are pretty good at maintaining power and leadership and have been the dominant governing party in Canada for a long time. And so they went to Justin and said, well, it's you or a conservative. And you can imagine that's not a positive specter for someone who's on the left or even a liberal, especially, and Trudeau's quite a bit on the left. And they said, we need you to run. And then I thought, okay, well, the answer to that should have been no, because Justin has no training for this, no experience. He's a part-time drama teacher fundamentally. He hadn't run a business. He just didn't know enough to be prime minister. But then I'm trying to put myself in his position. So it's like, okay, I don't know enough, but I'm young and we don't want the Conservatives. And they had a run, a 10-year run. So maybe it was time for a new government. Maybe I could grow into this man. Maybe I could surround myself with good people and I could learn humbly and I could become the person I'm now pretending to be, which we all have to do as we move forward, right? And so then I thought, okay, I think you made a mistake there because you ran only on your father's name and you didn't have the background, but let's give the devil his due and say that's no problem. Okay, so now what do? Well, you get elected, and your first act is to make the cabinet 50% women, despite the fact that only 25% of the elected members are female. It's like, okay, you just halved your talent pool. That was a really bad move for your first move.
Can I ask you about that?
Yeah.
Do you think, where does that move come from? Deep somewhere in the heart? Or
No.
is it trying to listen to the social forces that of the moment and try to ride those ways
You don't
towards
make a
maybe
decision
greater and
like that
greater
by
popularity?
After thinking it through. It's like, no, you just halved your talent pool for cabinet positions. That's what you did. There's enough cabinet positions. You know, you could argue that each of them met threshold. It's like, there's a big difference between threshold and excellent.
So you don't think that that came from a place of compassion?
I don't care if
Deep
it did. I don't regard compassion as a virtue. Compassion is a reflex, not a virtue.
You don't think
Judicious compassion is a virtue.
Wait a minute. Compassion can come deep from the human heart and the human mind, I think. Are we talking about the same kind of compassion?
Yes.
Trying to understand the suffering.
Treating
of the world?
adults like infants is not virtuous.